Time for your fan weather forecast brought to you by Utke Heating and Cooling. 77 degrees, mostly cloudy skies right now. Rain is in the forecast for this evening, so keep an umbrella handy. Low tonight of 53.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is that time again as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM The Fan Studio. It's powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here, Charlie Usen over there. Joining us to lead off the second hour of the show. He is on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law, the one and only Vinny Rottino. Vinny, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, Sparky. Anytime, you know that.
Okay, so FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analysts, y'all were popular on social media, and you probably didn't even realize it because of how angry people were that Ron Darling was on that broadcast. People wanted all the local guys brought on the broadcast. Has there ever been conversation amongst you all about wanting that same thing? In the NBA, they get the first round, and you still have the local broadcast with the national broadcast. And then after the first round, then it moves on. Has there ever been any conversation about that?
Not that I know of, Sparky. In fact, I was talking to Bill Schroeder, about this same thing. We just went to dinner a couple of nights ago, and he kind of used the analogy. It's like, you know, you have a girlfriend, right? And you take her, you make the phone calls, you put in all the work, you guys have a good relationship, and then you go to prom and someone else takes her to prom. So it's kind of a good analogy just because, we follow the team, we cover the team all year long, and then all of a sudden someone else has taken the team to prom, so to speak. So it's unfortunate, but that's how it goes. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's nice that the Brewers are being covered by, the national network, and everyone outside of the state of Wisconsin can see how good this team is. And they certainly showed it that game one.
It's interesting because I had said while this break was happening and we were waiting to see who the Brewers were going to play after the wild card round was done, that this team offensively wasn't obviously the same that it was since the trade deadline through August. It had cooled off some. And I was hoping that just a refresh, a reset of the minds and body and all of that may kind of get this offense going again. I did not expect it to get it going to 6 in the first going, but it definitely looked like this offense was looking a little bit closer to what it did in August there in game one.
Without a doubt. And Murph knows how to push the right buttons, doesn't he? My goodness, he knows his group so well because remember that last month of the season, did they play after that 14-game winning streak, 500 baseball right around there, and they looked a little tired, right? And they just didn't have, not that they didn't have their edge to them, like they didn't have the first part of the season, first 6 weeks of the season where he challenged them to find their edge. They just looked a little gassed. They looked a little tired, battling, of course, as they always do. But Murph knows how to push the right buttons. He didn't bring fans in for that week layoff where other teams were bringing fans in. The Phillies, had 35,000 fans at the stadium to watch their scrimmages. Murph didn't do that. He realized, hey, look, this team just needs a mental break. They need a reset. And boy, did they ever come out like gangbusters. 9 runs in the first 2 innings. The offense showed up again. They were 7 for 17 with runners in scoring position. That was the Brewers that we saw early on, or I guess, 3 different winning streaks. The offense cannot be held down when they're swinging the bats like this and they're having quality at bats up and down the lineup like this. It was fun to watch. Let's see him do it again against Shota Imanaga tonight.
We talked about the importance of Jackson Chourio going into the season. He had 200 in the month of September and really needing him to look like a star player kind of in the playoffs if this team's going to make a deep run in the postseason. He looked just like that for the first couple of innings until the hamstring strain. Your thoughts on him and the likelihood of him playing again here in the series?
Man, that one was a little bit tough to see, right? We saw it look when he originally injured the hamstring. We saw it look like it wasn't that big of a deal. Him coming out of the game, him saying in the post game, I'm fine. He was all smiles, and then he was out for a month. So that was scary to see him come out of the game, even though they're talking about it being precautionary. You saw it on Twitter how he was running down the line. I think Adam McCalvey tweeted it. It looked like he was favoring that hamstring a little bit. It doesn't not something you want to see for certain with your young budding star and Jackson Chourio out. Especially he was 3 for 3 in the first game, and he just looked like he was back to him being himself. And look, he thrives in these types of scenarios, right? He thrives when the game's on the line. He thrives in front of the brightest lights of the big leagues in the playoffs, the NLDS. So don't want to see him out. I don't know. I'd be speculating if I would tell you he's going to play one way or the other. But here's the thing, Sparky. We know that, next man up type of mentality, and they've been doing it all year long. And Isaac Collins stepped up in the absence of Jackson Chourio earlier on in that month-long hiatus where he was out the entire month of August, and the Brewers had a great month. So we'll see what happens, but certainly you hope that he's okay. Personally, I would probably DH him and put Yelich in left, just to, and then have him favor the hamstring on the bases. That's what I would do. That bat is that important. Let's see what the Brewers decide to do.
So Vinny Rottino, FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analyst, joins us here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, I should say, here on the Fan. Sparky with you. Let's go to Isaac Collins, because if there is no Chourio, it is going to fall on Isaac Collins. Man, what has happened? He had a kid, and the bat went silent kind of since then. Have you noticed anything physically watching him that's changed?
Nothing. No, I don't see anything that has changed. I thought he still was having consistent at bats. He gets on base a ton. He doesn't chase outside the zone. So that part of it hasn't changed. He just hasn't been getting the big hits that we saw him get earlier on. And part of that, Sparky, is the fact that the depth of this team is so deep that he wasn't getting consistent playing time. And so that'll affect a hitter, especially a guy that is just trying to continue to establish himself at the big league level. I think that's part of it. We'll see what happens here. If Chourio is out, he is going to be a big piece, right? You need to continue to see him produce and get on base, but nothing physically that I've seen. I think it's just mental at this point. I mean, guys go through this, especially, again, when they're trying to establish themselves, because you have some success at the big league level, and then all of a sudden you start to think, when you're not getting results, wait a minute, was that a fluke? Do I still belong here? That's the type of thing that happens for players when they're at the highest level. The big leagues is really difficult. We need to see Isaac Collins, especially if Jackson Chourio's out. We need to see him produce.
Let's talk about Joey Ortiz at the bottom of this lineup. Obviously, had a couple walks there in game one, which is good. But realistically, nobody's expecting much offensively for him, right? I mean, he's in this lineup and on this field for his defense first and foremost.
Yeah, that's exactly why he's out there. Same thing with Blake Perkins. That's your best lineup with Joey Ortiz at short and Blake Perkins out in center. Not your best offensive lineup, but that's your best lineup. And that's important because this team is still built on defense and pitching. Now, what we've seen in the past from other teams throughout the playoffs, throughout the history of the game, is all of a sudden you're not expecting something from a player, and all of a sudden they come up big, just like Blake Perkins did with that 11-pitch at-bat in the first inning against Matthew Boyd. So we'll hopefully see something big from Joey Ortiz and, again, from Blake Perkins, because, yes, you need to get contributions from the bottom of your lineup, but you're right, Sparky, you're not really expecting it because, again, he is in there for his glove.
Vinny Rottino, what's the key to these Brewers hitters taking advantage of and beating Imanaga tonight?
Yeah, so when they've taken advantage of him in the past, it's getting to him early. Now, I'm not saying they need to knock him out in the first inning like they did Matthew Boyd and score 6 runs off him. I'm saying they need to put a lot of pressure on him the first few innings, because he's a guy where if he settles in and he finds the feel for that split finger, that fork ball, then he is really tough. We saw that from him earlier in the season. In May, early May, they did get to him because they didn't allow him to settle in. They hammered some of those hanging splits. They got to do that again tonight. I actually think this potentially could be a mistake move by Craig Counsell, because remember, Imanaga is a fly ball pitcher. The wind is expected to be blowing in from Wrigley. Maybe they should have started him in game 3 instead of game 2 and maybe gone to a bullpen type of a situation. Let's hope that backfires for Counsell, so we have something to talk about, something to roast him on.
One last question, because the next topic we're doing after we're done with Ashby starting, what would be your plan behind Aaron Ashby tonight?
I think personally, I know there's a lot of discussion about this. I personally think it would be overthinking it and trying to get a little too cute if you do not bring in Quinn Priester right after Aaron Ashby. I think you just allow Aaron Ashby to get those tough lefties out, maybe all the way through Pete Crow Armstrong, and then you bring in Quinn Priester, a guy that you won 19 games in a row when he took the ball. He is a winner. He's gonna find a way to get these guys out. And the other thing is, if you don't throw Quinn Priester and you try and save him for game 3, then there's no chance for him to come back if there is a game 5. So I think it'd be too cute not to bring in Quinn Priester. It's got to be Quinn right after Ashby.
There is Vinny Rottino, FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analyst. Follow him on Twitter at Vinny Rottino. Love me some Vinny Rottino. Vinny, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Sparky, you're the best. Thanks.
Take care. There is Vinny Rottino, Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. So we're gonna ask this question, right? With Aaron Ashby slated to start coming up tonight, what would be your plan behind Aaron Ashby tonight? You get to pick the next couple of pitchers that you want to slot up as far as behind Aaron Ashby. Nicolay Law Fan Talk text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. You can also use Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app as well. So Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.
And Terang smacks one to right. That's down for a base hit and is off the wall. Churio will score, and the Brewers immediately answer. Tie game.
It's just such a beautiful thing. It really is. Highlight courtesy of TBS. Sparky with you. Brewers win 9-3, have a 1-0 lead. Coming up tonight, 5 to 8 o'clock. Make sure to get your butts out there to Kelly's Bleachers on Blue Mountain. Thanks to our fine folks over there at Sun Cruiser. Vodka Iced Tea. We'll have our Euchre Magic t-shirts out there to be given away while supplies last. It'll be Tommy Wirtz and Josh Albrecht hosting the show tonight. So go out and see those guys. Get pictures, autographs, whatever the case may be. Tommy's looking for some phone numbers if y'all are interested out there. Was that? Should I not have said that?
No, I think that's probably
it's
accurate
okay.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd be okay.
Big old hunk of love. Tommy Wirtz. Go out there. You can do that too. Have a couple of Sun Cruisers. Got great food there at Kelly's Bleachers. Hang out, listen to the game. We'll have all kinds of reaction from inside American Family Field as Drew Wagner is there with everybody inside. They're getting all the audio from everybody talking today. So you hear some of that coming up between 5 and 8 tonight too. Those Euchre Magic shirts are pretty popular, it seems like. Charlie?
Yeah, pretty exciting. A lot of people were asking for them when Tommy was on remote on Saturday. People on Twitter were asking about them, where they could get them. So people outside of the state of Wisconsin, I mean, that could be a big thing, Sparky.
Can be. So make sure to get your butts down there. Kelly's Bleachers tonight, 5 to 8. And we'll be out there with the leadoff show. And again, they got their shuttles. They go to and from the game like they have forever. It's just such a cool spot there on Blue Mountain. All right, Aaron Ashby was named the starter by Pat Murphy, and now we'll see what this is going to look like coming behind Aaron Ashby. Now, Pat Murphy's scheduled to talk, at 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock,
right.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he lets the kid out of bed. I doubt he will. So the question is this. With Ashby starting now, a surprise start. Nobody saw him coming. Everybody thought it was going to be Priester, then Quintana. With Ashby starting, what would be your plan behind Aaron Ashby today? What pitchers and what order is your plan going in? Now, again, this is with the idea that they are successful when they're out there pitching, right? I mean, obviously, if Ashby gets rocked, that may change what the rest of it looks like behind him. Or if the second pitcher gets rocked, that may change what it looks like behind him. What would it look like for you? Who are the pitchers coming in behind Aaron Ashby tonight at American Family Field against Imanaga for the Cubs? Nicolay Law Fan Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Sound off with a recorded voice message on the Odyssey app or use Facebook and Twitter at The Fan Milwaukee. Let's see what we got here. Charlie Usen, we'll start with you. What would it look like behind Aaron Ashby if you were Pat Murphy?
I think with this Aaron Ashby move, me and you were talking about this when we were doing our show prep meeting, and you were saying that you think they're putting a lefty out there in order to force the Cubs to change their lineup here and make Craig Counsell make some big decisions with this team. And I think I'm with you on that. And with that, I think when you put a lefty out there to start these games, most managers would expect you then to switch kind of to the righty to throw them back off that way. I don't think the Brewers are going to go that way. I think you go with another lefty right behind Aaron Ashby, and you go with either Robert Gasser or DL Hall in a situation like this, one of these players that also needs to prove themselves. And then we also were talking with our guy Tommy Wirtz in the break here a little bit, and Jacob Mizorowski could be an option tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of young pitchers getting a shot tonight in their first playoffs.
So Vinny Rottino, when he was on there in the last segment, said he must follow the weather like I do, that it appears the wind may be blowing in on Wednesday. So providing the Brewers know that, and I'm assuming they would, does that change then who you decide to throw on Wednesday? Because again, a fly ball pitcher isn't going to be as big of a deal if the wind is blowing in at Wrigley than say if you're pitching them at American Family Field.
It might, but also like you were talking to me about last week, they have a day of rest in between. They got some time to relax that may make everybody available in both of these games. So yeah, I think you can go into that with this plan that maybe a guy like Mizorowski, who's going to give up a few more home runs just because of the velocity that he throws the ball at, may be better suited for a game where the wind's blowing in at a Wrigley Field. At the same time, you're going to have that rest. You could maybe use them in both if you use them for 2 innings in both those games.
I think if it's me, you have to consider a couple of things. Mizorowski, when he was brought in from AAA and was asked to pitch, Mizorowski was unbelievable for the first couple of games. Then he had that weird comebacker, which he pitched after, And then they decided, oh, no, we're going to sit him now. And then they screwed everything up when I think he could have pitched. He pitched fine the rest of that game. He pitched like 2 or more innings, 3 more innings, whatever it was. And then since then, he's been screwed up. So now he's had a mental break, a refresh, just like the hitters have. And I just wonder whether or not Mizorowski has another gear to where in a big moment he can lock in and do something. Because he definitely did that his first couple of outings. When I'm sure he was nervous, when sure was really juiced to go out there and deliver the goods. Now, will he do that in this series against the Cubs? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. There are 2 things that I think need to be done here. The first thing I want is I would like him to pitch at home. The second thing is I do not want him to come into a game where the inning has already been started and now there are runners on base. I have no interest in that whatsoever. If you're going to pitch Jacob Mizorowski, then you pitch him to start the 5th or start the 6th or start the 7th. But I'm not bringing him in the 5th with the bases loaded and 1 out and go, all right, young man, go get it. Not interested in that. I have no interest in that whatsoever. Start a clean inning, that's fine. I think when you look at tonight, I think it makes sense for Ashby to start. I think it makes sense for then to go either DL Hall, and who was the other guy that you had mentioned?
Robert Gasser.
Robert Gasser. So Hall or Gasser makes sense there. Now let me bring you somewhere else with this.
Sure.
I also think that it makes sense to start Priester in Chicago, even though he won't be able to pitch in Game 5. I understand. Pitch Priester in Chicago with the ability to bring over whoever you don't bring here, Hall or Gasser, right behind Priester for a couple of innings to get you to the shorts of your bullpen in the 8th and 9th inning if you choose to go that way. I think that makes a lot of sense if they decide not to go Priester. Now, if they're thinking ahead to Game 5, which seems very unlike Pat Murphy, but if you are thinking ahead to Game 5 and wanting Priester to be in Game 5 versus anybody else that you have, then that makes sense of why Priester would come in there and pitch today. So then essentially you could start him in Game 5 back at American Family Field to do your thing. But can I throw another one out at you?
Sure.
What if Priester starts 3 and Quintana is starting Game 4 and they're saving Freddie to pitch Game 1 of the NLCS, hopefully? If they can win right here these next couple of games, then he starts Game 1. If they absolutely must have him for Game 5, where he's been unbelievably good at American Family Field, Peralta then pitches Game 5. That's why I think you can get through this game without pitching Priester, let him pitch 3, let Quintana pitch 4, and then if you need a guy in Game 5, it's Freddie Peralta with extra rest.
I like that idea. I think that is something that the Brewers, you have to plan for a little bit here. This is a division rival with throughout the season has given you some trouble. You've been pretty evenly matched, so you have to go in with this expectation that this could go 5 games. I know, like you said, that's not really Pat Murphy's approach most of the time. At the same time, you have to have that approach in the playoffs. You have to go in with a little bit of a different mentality because your season could end pretty soon here if you don't go in with a little bit of a different mentality. So I think that's something to be worried about, but I also think it's going to hinge on what happens tonight a little bit too. I think if they go out there and dominate tonight, then it's a little easier. You take a little bit off your back a little bit, and you can go into a Game 3 and say, you know what, we can use 2 guys through 7 innings here and hope that we can save guys a little bit more. Otherwise, if you go out here and you blow it a little bit tonight with a lot of young pitchers on the mound, you have a lot more questions with the rest of the series then.
Dugout YouTube chat. Mitch Thunder Nellis is participating. He puts in capital letters, win tonight. Don't think ahead. Win tonight. Hey, man, that's been the Pat Murphy motto for the last 2 seasons. That's how he goes about his regular season. That is what makes him different than the trader and others who are always thinking ahead. You know what? We're just going to give this game up, take the loss, and then reset everything, and then we'll be fine after that. Murphy never does that. Murphy's always trying to figure out, how do we win today? We'll worry about tomorrow when we get to tomorrow, but let's win today. And that is what makes them such a dangerous regular season team, in my opinion, because they play to win every freaking game. They don't just go through the motions for a game or 2 or 3 at a time. That's not how he's built. That's not how he builds his team, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But if it's me, I want Freddie Peralta in Game 1 of the NLCS. And if they, put it this way, If they win tonight in game 2 without using Priester or Quintana, man, now you get Priester game 3 with the wind blowing in on top of it. Advantage Brewers all day. I don't care who they pitch in game 3 against Quinn Priester. The Brewers are going to have the pitching advantage in that matchup.
You have to. I mean, there's not much better rotations or bullpens in all of the MLB. And if you go into that game with a majority of your rotation, a majority of your bullpen not being used up to that point, you can get through this game with 3 to 4 guys. I mean, you're in a really good spot that I don't think any other team is in at that point.
You know, the other part about it is when we talk about how to go about this and how you figure this out, I don't think this is just a Pat Murphy thing. My guess would be Matt Arnold's involved, the pitching coach is involved, all hands on deck in these 3, 4, 5 days as far as how do we want to approach this series? What is the best case scenario of how we get through this series and what that means? I don't think this is Murphy on his own doing everything. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. Anton in the YouTube dugout chat says, I really think it's going 4 games. Oh, I'll tell you, I really want it to go 3 and be done. The NLCS, based on what we could find online, appears to start on Monday. So if this thing ends on Wednesday, what happens? 4 more days of rest? Reset the rotation, reset the bullpen, get a couple more practices in. Nobody's going to be more fresh than the Milwaukee Brewers going into the NLCS at that point, Charlie. That's a huge advantage.
The Dodgers and Phillies is going to be a fist fight throughout that whole series.
Correct.
And both those teams, no matter who comes out of it, is going to come out a little bit tired and a little bit gassed. And the Brewers are going to have a big advantage if you can win this in 3 games over both those teams that the Brewers have had an advantage over throughout this season.
Right.
They're in a really good spot if you can get tonight. And I think moving forward here, there's not a lot of other teams in the National League that have that same kind of advantage.
Here's Charlie using over there. See Sparky Fifer here. We're coming up. We're going to get to our Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Looking forward to hearing what he's got for today. Let me tell you about my friends over there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Want to hit up Potawatomi Sportsbook before a postseason game, but you need a ride to the game. Hit 2 balls with 1 bat by hitching a ride on a Potawatomi game day shuttle. Make any purchase in the sportsbook or same-day sports bet to get a wristband and seat on the shuttle. Shuttles begin approximately 2 hours before first pitch. Return shuttles run nonstop for 1 hour after the game. For more, visit Potawatomi.com. Bet above the rest. And that purchase at the sportsbook, that Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen is amazing, folks. Amazing. Homemade desserts and pastries. 48 beers on tap. Dozen different specialty cocktails. You got the John Kuhn platter you can get. Too much food for me, but I'm sure some of you can finish it off. You can get that. You can get wraps, sandwiches, wings, salads. You name it, they've got it. Plus all-day brunch. So you can do a little pregame, maybe some appetizers, a couple of beverages before you get on the shuttle, head over to the ballpark. It makes all the sense in the world. So again, go to Potawatomi.com for more information on how to get yourself on and off of that shuttle. But definitely the way to go about things for sure there. Coming up, we'll get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Also coming up still, we're going to talk about whether or not you would play Jackson Churio today. Because we have some stuff here from John Morosi of MLB Network. And I'm curious to see your thoughts on what Morosi says. Now, Murphy's going to be talking at the same time we play the Morosi clip. So maybe Murphy will tell us what's going on with Churio. I bet he doesn't. But he might, because it would be very unlike anybody to tell you, oh, yeah, Churio's going to be able to pinch run tonight. Why would you tell Counsell that, the trader? Why? You wouldn't do that. I wouldn't tell him anything. I don't know. Guess you have to wait and see the lineup comes up. Well, is he going to play off the bench? I don't know. Guess we'll have to wait and see when the game starts. I'm not giving that information up if I'm Murphy. No chance.
Why would you? You don't have to. You don't have to make any decisions until 8:08.
You're not putting him on the IL, so he's just going to be sitting on the bench.
You got all day to get comfortable, see how guys are feeling. You might as well use that time.
Yes, you don't have to tell anybody anything. He can sit on the bench and be a bench player. Maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. You'll just have to wait and see. So Charlie Sounds today. Coming up next, it's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.
personal film to look at. I think I have 7 at-bats off him already, so that's super nice. You're obviously
Broken bat for Freeland on a ball to second. Horner boots it. Everybody's safe. Here comes Contreras, and he scores.
Oh, the great Nico Horner. Remember the argument I got on Twitter with that idiot earlier in the year, Cubs fan? Yeah, Nico Horner's way better than Bryce Terang, right? I was like, dude, he was a platinum glove winner. What are you talking about? Oh, Nico Horner's way better. When that happened, I laughed. I did. I laughed. I thought of that dude instantaneously. I did not have the energy to go through all of my tweets to see where he was and could find him. But I thought of him. If you're following us or listening to us, sir, I do remember you, and I remember going back and forth with you. But that's the thing that was happening, that highlight courtesy of TBS. That's the thing that was happening during the Brewers winning streaks, where the other team would make errors and the Brewers would make you pay. In September, they were making the errors and the other team was making us pay, or they were making errors and we weren't capitalizing. That was not, the case in game 1. That's what we want to be the case in game 2 and going forward.
That's the type of consistency that this Brewers team needs to have moving forward here. It's the type of consistency that they had for a good month and a half after the All-Star break and the trade deadline. They were just on fire with taking advantage of what the other teams were giving them. You just have to get back to that. And game 1 was a really, really, really good sign of that.
Yeah, really good sign of that.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on The Fan.
All right, time to get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day. Now, I don't know what he has picked. I don't know if we're saying baseball. I don't know if we're going football. I'm not quite sure what he plans on doing. I can tell you this segment is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Make sure to download the Prize Picks app today and use code SPARKY, SPARKY, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code SPARKY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. Tommy Wirtz packing up the bag. He's got his Aaron Ashby jersey on. Swear to God.
Might be the only person ever.
You could see the Aaron Ashby jersey in person. If you just head on down there, oh my goodness, he's turned the YouTube thing. Yeah, there it is. You can see it on YouTube. He's wearing the Aaron Ashby jersey. He chose that over Corbin Burns, and it worked out. Corbin Burns is gone, and he's hurt. So really, at the end of the day, he made the right decision. So he'll be wearing that. If you go down to Kelly's Bleachers on Blue Mound from 5 to 8, the leadoff show going on again today. Him and Josh Albrecht from Inside Wisconsin Sports, the morning show from 6 to 9 with Trevor Thomas. So Josh and him will be down there. Again, have the hashtag Euchre Magic shirts that they'll be handing out. The Sun Cruiser Vodka iced teas will be flowing as well. If you've never had one, try one. They are delicious. All right, Charlie, sounds of the day. What do we got?
All right, first up, we are going to stick with baseball for this first one at least, and then we're going to get into the world of football. But former World Series manager Joe Maddon was on MLB Network, and he was discussing what advice he'd give to managers facing the postseason pressure. This was in relation to Craig Counsell making the decision to start Matthew Boyd in Game 1 of this NLDS.
Don't change a thing. Whatever got you there, please stay on the same page. There's the tendency to believe that we have to do more or change things a bit, add more information, add more of this, longer meetings, etc. Please don't do that. The line I came up with is to do simple better. Really, you want to cull the information down. You want to simplify as much as you possibly can. You're looking for nuggets. Like Martinez could not hit a left-handed curveball. You just saw it right there, and that was a big part of that. The pitch selection versus him. But you really want to reduce it to nuggets. Don't try to get too smart. Same report times, same meeting times. Don't change your game. If you're aggressive in the game, don't all of a sudden become conservative because you don't want to make a mistake that you have to explain later. I really, really would try to emphasize that more than anything. Don't change your patterns. If you have to add something, make it small. Remember, these players can't remember everything. You come out with these reams of information. They're not going to remember any of that.
You know, I was thinking about this while he was talking. It really is kind of cool if you think about it. If you win a World Series, you're viewed as a genius for the rest of your life, and you know everything about the game of baseball at that point and how all managers should do what you did once, right? It's one thing if you won, not raining outside, by the way. It's one thing if you've won 2 or 3 rings, right? So if you're Phil Jackson, okay, people should listen. Okay. If you're Steve Kerr, okay. Right, I'm down with that, sure. But if you're Ned Yost, are people going to listen to what you did? You got there 2 years in a row. You won one. Do people have Ned Yost on to tell them how to win a World Series? No. But Maddon, Joe Maddon's talking. Listen to Joe Maddon. I don't disagree necessarily with what he said as far as being consistent and making sure you stayed with who you are. I think that people are being overcritical of Counsell as the traitor down there in Chicago when it comes to pitching Boyd on 3 days rest. It's a Sabathia was pitching on 3 days rest for damn near a month and just using that workhorse and doing his thing. And then it's, well, he'd only done it one other time in his career. Why would you do that for? Because he's trying to get an advantage in this series. That's why. I'm sure in his mind, look, if we steal a game in American Family Field, now, all of a sudden, we can win this series and not have to come back here. So I'm going to try and steal one with my best pitcher on 3 days rest. He is absolutely getting annihilated by Cub fans. I did not see a major issue with that. And when we had David Hahn, he's like, whoa, Colin Ray. Colin Ray? What? Come on.
Might as well say Aaron Savali should have started that game. Like, come on.
Well, Savali really pitched well, though, right? So I'm sure Cub fans are like, oh, I should have pitched Savali.
But you can't logically put Savali into that spot before the game starts. You can't do that with Colin Ray either in this situation. It doesn't make any sense.
It would have been fine with me if they wanted to try to. But I'm just saying, I don't have a major issue with what he did. And now it's a big topic across the country with what he did. I don't think it was a big blunder like everybody said. Now, the Imanaga thing that Vinny Rottino brought up at 3:00. Now, that's different because his point is This dude's a fly ball pitcher and a home run pitcher, gets hammered early in every game. He should be pitching at Wrigley with a win in. But you're down 0-1. You don't want to be down 2-0. So you have to pitch your second best pitcher here to try and, again, get a game. If you lose, the series is probably going to be over, if we're being honest. So he's trying to figure out how to win one here in Milwaukee. I get his thinking. Maybe he's a little scary that I understand Craig, but I get his thinking. I think he's doing it the right way, even though it may not work out. We'll see. I still don't think Imanaga gets shelled tonight, by the way.
He wouldn't make those same decisions in those situations if his two best pitchers were healthy. I mean, he's just making the decisions that he has to. Correct. If Justin Steele and Javier Assad could be out there, he would put those guys out there instead. Not Matt Boyd, but he had to put Matt Boyd out there.
Yep, and Assad isn't even anything to write home about, if we're being honest. The Justin Steele injury killed him. Absolutely killed him. All right, next up here, we are going to head over to the NFL. We got two different clips from two different very strange things that happened this weekend. First up, we're going to head over to the Arizona Cardinals versus the Tennessee Titans. First, you're going to hear Emery Demercado's fumble. You know who this cat is, right? This is the cat that our fantasy guy was telling me that I
picked him up and put him in my starting lineup.
Joe Bartel. Mm-hmm. I had to pick him up. Do you know what happened? I got home this weekend, and my 9-year-old's in fantasy football in our family league. He's got 4 dudes. He's got Watson, who was out. Okay. He had Reed, who got hurt. Fine. He got DJ Moore, I think, who's on bye. Like, he was on like 4 guys. So he had to pick up this cat from Arizona. Okay. So we're out doing our thing, whatever else. Kay's like, oh, this guy, blah, 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 DeMarcado, whatever, scored from Arizona, a touchdown. So, he's got like 6 points now or whatever. I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. And then later on, I saw the play in which he didn't get 6 points. I could not believe what I saw.
Here's the audio of that play, and then Greg Olson reacting to it on Wake Up Barstool this morning.
3rd and short. First down, DeMarcado off to the races. 20, 10, touchdown. Did he drop it early? Boy, that's going to be close. Oh, my goodness. Boy, he extended it with his hand a little bit. Did Sneed's trying to say that he got the ball out. Wow. You see him kind of put it on his fingertips, but did he have control, Arch, before that thing broke the plane?
That's about as bad of a beat. You're a quarter of an inch from being up 28-6 in the fourth quarter against arguably the worst team in the league, at least in the conversation through the first 4 games with the Titans, and the game's all but over. So then you go from not getting up 28-6 because guys can't run through the goal line. And then, of course, the the interception to fumble to kick into the end zone is just a ridiculous play. If you're Arizona this morning, there's a lot of disappointing losses in the league. I've been a part of a lot of them. You're sick. You get over it. The coulda, shoulda, woulda. That might be the worst as far as just like a meaningless regular season game, just the manner in which they lost the fourth quarter lead. You can't make that up. Like if that happens in the Madden, you're like breaking your controller, right? You're like throwing it against the wall. So I don't know why guys have the need to drop the ball. If I was a head coach, I'd be like, if you don't run with the ball to the sideline and keep it tucked until you I'm just going to cut you. You're just not going to play for me.
Okay, settle down. I like Greg Olson. You're on Barstool, so I guess maybe you're going to be over the top. But there is no reason to, I'm going to cut you. Stop. So first off, did you see the video when he's on the sideline after he fumbles the ball and what happened?
Gannon was not very happy with him. Yeah.
Dude is on the sidelines. I couldn't see his face. Maybe he was crying. I don't know. Big offensive lineman. He's got his arm around him, right? Like, dude, it's going to be okay. Another dude on the other side, I'm talking, dude, it's going to be okay. This dude, head coach, comes walking up. Now, I don't know what he was yelling at him. I have no idea. Now, again, everybody assumes he's chewing him out for fumbling the ball. It could be he turned around, saw him being all emotional, right? I mean, like, oh, no. You are not checking out on this game because of that. It might have been coming up. Get your head back in this game. We need you. Knock this crap off and let's go. Quit feeling sorry for yourself. That could be what he was saying. Everybody assumes he was yelling at him for fumbling the ball. Pretty sure the dude felt bad enough. I don't think there was any reason to do that. So I don't know what he said to him, but it did not look pretty on the sidelines. And I think everybody in the world felt bad for him. He wasn't showboating. Like, he didn't go in like high stepping and drop the ball or something. He thought he crossed the goal line and he dropped it. I do agree. Dude, at least get past your team's letters in the end zone before you before you drop the football. Let's make a rule. We get to at least the middle of the end zone, then drop the football so we don't have this happen again. Second of all, in that same game, Marvin Harrison makes an unbelievable catch, and then poof, that's it. I don't understand. Like, I understand. I get that there's something obviously going on down there where he can't get himself going. But you make a catch like that, like the next 5-6 balls, I'm just throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. to see if he can take over a game. Not what happened. Whatever. It is what it is. All right, next up.
And last up here, in the Minnesota Vikings game yesterday against the Cleveland Browns, Will Reichert late in the game missed a field goal. It definitely hit a Cleveland Browns defender's finger, but there was a lot of concern that it may have also hit the camera wire of the sky cam.
It did.
This is Pat McAfee and his crew talking about it, because you cannot find the audio or the clip of this anywhere that's not completely slowed down. It's crazy.
This one, I'll tell you, I don't know.
It's close.
Hits a pinky. There's a Skycam wire there. It does turn to the right. Is that because of the pinky right there? Or is it because it hits a Skycam wire right there where it starts to get a little fatter?
I don't know.
That's close. We don't know.
Maybe both. It shouldn't be that close, though.
We don't
Shouldn't be.
But also, on that note, don't know if it hit the Skycam wire here. No, it definitely hit a pinky there. Good block by the year of the block. Continues almost for the Cleveland Browns. But we shouldn't even be having a discussion on whether or not it hit Skycam. Get the thing out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it hit the cable. Florio did a bit on this last night. Sunday Night Football. There was another game where it hit the actual camera and they ruled the play wrong. The referees got it wrong as far as what was supposed to happen when the ball hit the camera. It's supposed to play is essentially doesn't count, and you're supposed to run the play over again. So it shouldn't have counted, and they made a decision otherwise, other than that. And then the cable one, I think the referees just completely missed. Like they didn't do anything about that one whatsoever. But remember, where did this all start? The XFL and Vince McMahon. That's where all of these sky cams and everything else started. This was all from Vince McMahon and the XFL, and they've been doing it ever since. And it is worth the price of admission to have those sky cameras over the top for everybody at home to get different views for the instant replays and everything else that you want. So they're not getting rid of it because of some random ball hitting it. But what has to occur, that was from the Pat McAfee show, like Charlie said, but what has to occur is that we have to know the rules if we're the referees as far as what happens if it hits a camera, what happens if it hits a cable. And that's where the issue lies. The referees this weekend didn't know the rules, Charlie.
I mean, you look at every other sport, I feel like the MLB knows what to do when things hit the ceilings of these stadiums or there's a wire coming down.
Everybody comes out. The manager's like, okay, if it hits that, this is the rule. If it hits that, this is the rule. And that happens in every park. Minor league baseball, high school baseball. Like, everybody knows, the things that
in the NBA, if it hits the Jumbotron in the middle, they have rules for that. Correct. You would think the NFL would have this type of stuff figured out, because the Skycam, came from the XFL, which is not a brand new thing at this point.
Years ago.
It's been around for a while.
The first incarnation of the XFL.
And I know it doesn't happen that often, but it should be pretty easy for these refs to take those little books out of the pocket that they have and flip to the page about that and go, oh, hey, yeah, he's got to re-kick it. It should be that easy.
It should be that easy, no question. So there you go, Charlie. Sounds of the day brought to you by Prize Picks. Coming up in hour number 2, Pat Murphy is expected to come up and talk here at 4 o'clock. So we'll see what Pat Murphy has to say. And we'll get you some sound from earlier today as well from American Family Field. And don't forget this too, things that we missed on today's show. There is a Bucks game tonight, folks. They play their first exhibition game tonight. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And LeBron James is at it again. So earlier today, we were in our pre-show meeting, Charlie and I, going over topics for the show, what we're going to put on, what we were not going to put on, guests for the day, and so forth. And LeBron James posts out decision number 2. And it's a dude sitting in a chair, a fold-up chair, and LeBron comes walking out, and he sits down. They say nothing. And it says decision number 2 coming whenever the heck it said it was coming. So we're going to talk about what we think decision number 2 may actually be. We'll do that coming up at around 4:40 as well. And then at 5 to 8, it's the leadoff show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. on location, on the road. Tommy Wirtz, Josh Albrecht will be at Kelly's Bleachers on Blue Mound tonight. They'll have the Euchre Magic t-shirts as well. If you want to get your hands on one of those, we'll have those until supplies run out. Definitely want to be there for that. Thanks to Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Have a couple of those. Bubble-free, 100 calories. Definitely want to get your hands on a couple of Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Teas. Up next, do you play Cheerio? Don't you play Cheerio in Game 2 tonight? Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.